And that shouldn't take too long. It should be a relatively sort of sharp whip through some of the material that you've already put up. And then effectively you then jump into the point where you say, well, now I'm at PRS 3 and this is what I'm trying to work through as a set of ideas, and this is how I'm now structuring this is what I've done since the last PRS, and this is what the next body of work is. So the next body of work is the production of a series of books. The next body of work is thinking about how architects communicate and challenging the proposition of the monologue and beginning to think about the interactivity of a website as lauded by the Design Museum, and starting to say, well, in these tight economic times, what is it that architects can do that are actually continuing to push the agendas of architecture if it's not the fact that they're building buildings?
Mm. No, that's cool. That's because I've got Madar is currently doing an analysis of everything from. It's funny because a couple of weeks ago we were sitting in procurement in Islington, and it's about using everyday processes within practice and turning back and reflecting them. So in procurement in Islington, they say there's only 3 types of things which people give the council. One is either works, which means like buildings or something. One is services, like you could be a childcare providing childcare services. Or thirdly, supplies. You could supply the council with ink. And so using that kind of triple format of works, supplies and services, we started thinking about our own output, because buildings are only one part of it. There's also services in the sense of consultancy, lectures, exhibitions, all those things which are architecture but not manifest as building. And thirdly, then there's things which, I've changed this syntax away from work, supplies and services into buildings. Madar, what is it? Buildings? What was the 3? Buildings, services and fittings. Slightly more architecturally relevant. So buildings is, you're Joe Client, you come in for a building. Services is like doing a PRS lecture. Because we have to sync the whole PRS, embed it within the culture of a practice. So therefore it's not peripheralized, so there's a service. And then the third one is fittings, where like a chattel, like if you design a product or a furniture or something which is not a building, but so that gives us again a framework in which we can go back and reflect. So therefore we can produce this information to say that, oh my God, we're only doing 15% buildings. We are maybe doing 25% services, and we may be doing 15% fittings. And this comes back into the nature of the game. So the game show thing is right. Okay, once I've done all that, and you're right, so we do an overview of 10 minutes. Then you say we do a kind of where we've been and where we're going. And I guess there's a conclusion at the end, isn't there, then?
Yeah. For me, I think in the where we've been and where we're going, there is a possibility to skate over the top of a load of projects.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think what would be really useful would be to take a specific project and just demonstrate how those 3 things are operating, perhaps within a specific project.
Okay, case study.
So it could be Shoreditch, right?
Yeah.
You kind of go, well, look, this is a case whereby not only have we bought a development and we're interested in the procurement of that, we're also contributing in a cultural context by allowing people to rent it and do stuff in it. But then we're directly engaging with the rebuilding of a community that, 50 years ago was engaged around the station, and beginning to think about how now the new community of Shoreditch would be able to utilise that same facility in a different proposition and a different assemblage. All of those things are something that then begins to not only talk about contribution in a built form, but also contribution in a social or community, or more critically, a commentary about, you know, what's going on in Shoreditch and whether this is a positive thing or not.
Okay, cool.
So by taking the singular project
Yep.
and going bang, 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 bang,
Yeah.
and then saying, look, and then we're producing 200 books to try and communicate.
Well, that's good because
frame all of it.
127 is ready and up and going.
Yep.
So we'll do exactly
Nice.
that. So we can say, because you know, there's not enough time, and the problem is if you don't drill down, people just
Yep.
think, you know, bouncing over. So we'll go, blah, 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 blah. Next time you see this, the entire website will be will be turned into a book, which is also a reversal. Usually you turn books into websites. Anyways, this is a reverse back the other direction.
Yep.
And then put them all away, and here's an example of this one.
Yep.
And then we'll just drill into this one. And as you say, it's all in there. And, okay, so that's good. So 10-minute overview, 30 minutes on where we're going, where we've been with a case study. And I guess that would give, that's so currently running at 40 minutes. I guess,
So let me just clarify as well.
Yep.
So generally you get 1 hour,
Yep.
right, as a 1 hour slot.
Yep.
So what we're looking to do is for you to compress what you're talking about down into probably
40.
35 minutes tops.
perfect. Yeah. Because that gives 20 minutes of blah, blah.
Yeah.
Discourse.
I mean, and and I think what would, if you then treated the question time
Yeah, as a creative
as
consultant.
as the game show component,
Yeah.
that could then be the kind of interesting thing. So
Yeah.
effectively, you then sort of throw it open to the audience, if you like,
Yeah.
to decide if the price is right.
Cool. Well, Martin, that's great because just to recap, I got just so you know, it's a typical view down here, and you'll be happy to know that course is in here, all recorded in voice. So anything you can't tell me later you didn't say that because I've recorded it. And as you say, that's perfect. So it'll be a 10-minute review, say 30 minutes on where we've been, where we're going, with a drill down into Shoreditch, for example.
Yep.
And then there'll be 20 minutes of game time. And it's really interesting because I already started thinking about how the hell would you turn this whole thing into a game which would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I started thinking of was it was a game of Fame or Fortune, which is very much a very architectural game, and there are potentially two reasons why people get into architecture.
Yep.
Fame or Fortune, and we can measure these things quite easily, you know. So therefore, between PRS3 and PRS4, say for example, I ask the audience, well, why do you get into architecture? Why do you want to become an architect? Let's say it's the banal one that you want to pay the mortgage, so it's a game of fortune.
Yep.
Well, there's plenty of ways you can measure that. Fortune can be measured by, and we get this in procurement all the time, turnover, the type of car you drive. You know, there's whole lots of ways to measure literally wealth, not only personal wealth, but the wealth of the business and all that. And of course, on the other side is a fame one, because also fame and ego and all that ambition are also vital to the game of architecture. Because without ambition and ego and fame, you don't have any drive to spend those long hours in the office to make the thing as good as you can be. So that's also important.
Yep.
But therefore, I can probably show some. We'll play a game, but I'll probably spend a couple of minutes showing how you. Well, maybe I'll do that at the end. How you can quantify. Because what I'd like to walk away with that PRS3 is make a decision amongst everybody sitting in that audience. What's the game we're going to play between PRS3 and PRS4? And what?
Yep.
So it's, let's say Fame or Fortune or any other game, but I'm saying without making it too complex, let's just call it Fame or Fortune. And if we choose, say, Fame, then we have 3 months to set up a whole bunch of characteristics to see what we achieved, or 6 months, sorry, to see what we achieve in those parameters, yeah?
Yeah.
So, you know, that could be
Absolutely.
anything from the number of bulking out the number of Facebook likes, it could be number of awards, you know, so you'd really go for it. If it was a number of awards, you go Bjarke Ingels mad, and you just enter every flipping award, you know, you'd enter the Malaysian Timber Awards, you know, you'd be pumping, you know, so, but there's ways of like, and it's all to do with press, so what I'd like to do is actually say, right, thank you, we've agreed a game, we now can go away and we've got some quantifiable measures to reappraise the at PRS4, and or something of that sense. But not to. There's a good book called Space, Time, and Play, which sounds really great. But when you read it, it's very, very dry, and it gets into game theory, and we're all dead by the end of it. So we want to keep the. I think Melanie said it quite well last time. We want to keep the sort of playfulness alive within it, because it's a creative process, and then use. So that's really it. So it'll be 20 minutes to determine what game we're going to play.
So I think the intriguing thing in this also is it would be, and you've started doing it. I think one of the important things about this process is to begin to identify who your peers are and who are your challengers. So let's say if you said, right, well,
sorry,
I'm going
laptop
to say,
2 just turned up. Sorry.
So if you actually sat down and said, right, well, who else is doing this? Jeff Morn is someone who doesn't produce architecture on Building Blog, but he is incredibly influential in the way in which he kind of creates people or creates things.
Yeah.
And he had a blog that turned into a book.
Yeah.
And shoved, Mark and Laura on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and then maybe you then begin to look at, say, Marcus Messiaen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus Messiaen, same deal, right? Like the guy's an architect, but
actually,
shit.
Yeah.
And he's very much interested in how the book begins to play a role in defining what crash theory might be, or defining how people come together and meet in a contemporary context and what that might actually begin to mean. And then you kind of look at Marcus Fairs and you say, all right, here's a failed architect and a failed magazine editor who's fired up this Dezeen thing, and now he's tripped in the Dezeen effect. So now we have the idea where you're not exactly sure if the idea is yours or whether you've seen it on Arch Daily yesterday, or Dezeen tomorrow, or Architizer the week before last. And it's almost instantaneous then of, as soon as Bjarke's kind of put something up, bang, it goes global. And then there's some dude in China kind of doing what he was doing, and he's about to build it. Bjarke's still trying to get it through planning in Copenhagen, right?
Yeah.
And you could begin to look at these people and say, well, Bjarke is a phenomena that's been created predominantly through Dezeen, Arch Daily, and I suppose the bastard child of OMA, right? And then sitting next to him is his ex-partner, Julian de Smet, and arguably Julian's doing exactly the same thing, right? They're both kind of vying like a pair of kind of warring brothers for the kind of most number of hits, as you say, on Dezeen or Facebook, or how many friends have you got, or blah, blah, blah. And I think that beginning to look at these kind of internet architects as those who, the fucking president of Kazakhstan would not have engaged Bjarke to design a building for him if he hadn't seen him in various other forms, right? And you then begin to start to say, well, in this promotional context, is architecture the important thing, or is the OMA-driven one-liner the thing that's actually driving that rise in fame and fortune? Or is there something else going on, like that kind of Philippe Ram or Andre Jacques, these guys who are very active on the circuit, but they don't actually bloody do anything, So I think it could be interesting to look at who your peers might be in this space.
Okay, so Martin, that's really good, because let's say we got 20 minutes and we're going to, and you said not much time, so you can say you, the audience, going to help us agree, play this game with us, and help us agree the rules for PRS4
Yep.
And when we come back in PRS4, we'll have done all, we would have just gone in, and we used the intervening period to prove it, so it'd be real proof. So for example, what I like about what you've said, who are my peers? That's a bit like games too. You can't play a game without competition.
Yep.
Right, and competition is such a broad thing, from empathy of ideology, like JDS and Bjarke, through to antagonism. Like actually, I always remember the one between Zaha and Libeskind, who at one point they were confused, but of course they hate each other. But what I mean, there's a whole world of competition, and then there's awards competition. So when you say who are my peers, in game thing, you need to be playing against somebody else. So the opposition, so that simple statement brings up opposition and competition and all those millions of things. The second thing, which is vital to play a game, is so I want to keep it kind of simple. We might just come up with 3 points. Who's the other players?
Yep.
Time and duration is important. You've just talked about the speed of design versus the speed of building.
Yep.
You might have come up with the idea, but I'll build it quicker, and I'll go down in history as the because it's all about the first, the originality, the avant-garde, the first. When you're always saying, "Bah, I saw that." Critics often go and go, oh, "Yeah, but that's only a copy of some other idea." But often, particularly in students in schools, they just think it's the first idea. So the speed is really important. Speed, how fast you design versus how fast you build. And then lastly, time. The last one is space. So we've got people through this competition thing. People, we've got time in terms of duration, how fast you build, but also we've got 4 months ourselves, or 6 months, sorry, to the next PRS4. We've got what the hell can we achieve? The clock is at PRSC. We're game on. So we leave PRSC, game on, and I've got to come back and say, here's the results, and then you, the audience, measure it. And then the last one will just be time, players, and the last one is the space. The space, I haven't quite thought of that, like the field, of which we're operating on. What the hell would that be? That could be the domain in which we're operating in. That could be, but I've got
90 minutes. There's 90 minutes plus injury time.
Yeah. So, I'll quantify that. So when we do the game time, because I don't want to get it, because it's very easy to overcomplicate and lose everyone. So we'll say, look, in this game time, we've only got 3 questions, which relates to the nature of time, the nature of space, and the nature of who we're playing. And then that's it. And we can set these things, and that's it. Cool. Good, man. You should teach, Martin.
Hey?
You should teach.
So they say.
You'd be a good teacher. You should become a dean, mate.
The one thing I would throw into that is the proposition about constraint and opportunity.
Constraint and opportunity. Well, that comes in. Do you mean spatial constraints or do you mean temporal?
Well, yeah, it could be. I mean, so Van Persie was offside 3 times.
Yeah.
But he was just onside 3 times. And the ability to play the offside rule to the millimetre, as shown on, when they show the graphic of the sort of digital, was he onside or not? Did the ref get it right? Then begins to become the critical thing. It's the difference between a hat trick and being offside 6 times. And I think, in some way, beginning to understand those lines of your practice are probably, there's probably some benefit within that, both in terms of space and time.
Okay. Well, that's perfect, because in the trilogy of gameplay, which you cannot play a game unless you have a field, like a space, a football field, whatever, you need space. You can't play a game unless you have an idea of time. Football is 90 minutes. It could be a game like poker, where you just go till you've exhausted everybody and they drop dead. But, that's still... Okay. And then the third one, you can't play a game unless you've got people, competition, peers. And as you say, the glue that defines all that is called rules or constraints. And and the question is, how close can we go to bending the rules and without breaking them? And that's
Yeah, yeah.
and then that's really good because that's how we'll sort of pitch it. So I kind of keep it that kind of lucid bit, and we'll bring in examples because, as you say, we've had a fantastic discussion at 20 minutes. And that's been great.
Well, Van Persie scored 3 goals in 33 minutes while I was watching the Dancing Girls.
That's right.
And
Amazing.
eating satay.
Yeah, and of course Suarez biting everybody. So, well, that's been really, really useful because, like I said, because it's clarified. No, it's perfect. And what I might do is bring a big clock. Because I think, the other thing is, in lectures, you never have the clock running. You want to see a big clock, no? Like in a football game.
You can wear it around your neck.
Yeah, like Flavor Flav. No, but you want to be under the cosh. We've got a dog, and because you think better anyway. And don't ramble. So, hey, that's wicked. I'll get to it.
All right, nice.
See you in. I'll be coming on Friday. I thought I'd better rock up these days and see everybody. But funny enough, we've got a meeting with a supplier in Antwerp in the morning, so I'm going to go and see them, and then after Antwerp, come over. So,
Sounds good.
and
I'm
I've
on
moved.
the train on Thursday morning, and then we've got a bit of business, a bit of faffing around to do.
Yeah.
But I'll be around on Friday. Wandering around cobbled streets, eating strange, sugary things.
We'll catch up then. And I've booked into the monastery was more expensive than the Marriott. So I said to Natalia, I like the monastery because for its monastic, sobriety. But it seems like that itself is a sort of luxury these days. And now the flipping. How much was the monastery? Oh, sorry. Happy birthday. Okay. But apparently it was the same price. But flipping monastery expected to be half price. So anyway,
Right.
Getting too old, mate. I've checked into the Marriott. So I don't know. At least there'll be more people around too.
Yeah. There's the breakfast and the strange, kind of before
And after.
dinner drinks that goes on.
Yeah, that's right.
Where the machinations of who has to take Leon out to dinner occur.
Well, I decided that if I can get breakfasts and review breakfasts in London like the last one, that's always better. But I think I might have, to be honest, just want to play the game and then get a good game out of it, and then worry about the. But look, it's good actually. The more I've got into it, the more just as you say, everything. Every time I pick up BD, there's something that reminds me of PRS. There's some aspect, and that's the bit which we really want to bring in. Because you've got to buy into it whole full time, and that's the other thing about deliberately setting up the parameters or the constraints between PRS3 and PRS4 is you're actually doing something rather than a scramble at the last second. Because that you need to be a total buy-in and do it properly, and then it's going to come out with better results. And so is there no more Brussels next time? It's Barcelona.
Barcelona next time.
PRS4. Wow. Hello, Barcelona.
Then back to it appears as though it's going to go spring in Ghent, and then November in Barcelona.
Okay, cool. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then where after that? I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, it's
Ljubljana.
But it's quite good this moving around thing because it's it's kind of like.
Gives Ryanair a run.
That's right. Gives we contribute to the local economies of all
these failing nations.
Hey mate. Well, speaking of which, it's been really, really great, and I'll let you get off to La La Land, and I think Julia and I we're going to go and play football.
Nice. Good idea.
Good idea. It's all research, Martin.
Indeed.
Hey, see you Friday.
See ya.
See you, mate. Okay. Huh? We're leaving now.